Welcome to episode number 10 of the Retro Gaming Roundtable. And before we get started on our topic for today, let's introduce our guest star, Jonathan from Back in the Day Gaming. Jonathan, man, welcome.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here. Appreciate it.
It's been a while in the making, so we're glad to have you here. I think this topic is kind of right down your alley too, so we're looking forward to your input today. So let's meet the rest of the round table. We got Jason from the Kinda Cool YouTube channel. We got Lyndon from Old School Games and Stories. Yes. Oh man.
I'm ready this time.
And we got Mark from the Dad Racer YouTube channel.
What's going on?
Welcome, guys. I think we're going to have some fun here. Can you guys believe that we've done 10 episodes?
Wow.
Seriously.
That's it?
Feels like
more
100
fun than the last, too, right?
100.
That's what the viewers are saying. They're like, yeah, man, I thought there was like 20 of these things.
Mhm.
And each one gets longer, right?
It just gets longer. And so today's topic, we're going to discuss the most influential and important first-person shooters. Before we get started with that, though, let's do our YouTube shout-outs, and I'll kick things off on that. So I'm really happy to shout this channel out. It's Modern Retro Renaissance. My buddy Cam over there has just started his YouTube channel. He's got some really great stuff, and I think he's covering a space that is kind of neglected. So these are modern retro style games, and his knowledge is vast on the subject. He just did a rundown of modern retro gaming in 2022, and there's a lot of really cool information, man. He did his research. It's very entertaining to watch. So check out Modern Retro Renaissance. All right, Jonathan, you have a shout out today.
Yeah, this channel name is Super Pixel Master, and I discovered this just searching for other channels that have any tips and suggestions for cleaning retro games and consoles.
Nice.
And he just happens to be under 200 subs, and his videos cover everything from cleaning retro games and consoles to CRT gameplay. And what I really sorry about the airplane in the background. What really shocked me about his videos were the production quality. I don't know anything about this guy, but he may actually work in video production because they are just top notch, stellar. Kind of make you feel like you're just some guy with a camera and walking around the house and filming yourself. It's like, look at me, I know what I'm doing. It's like, well, don't watch his videos.
Nice.
Phenomenal.
Great.
So that's, kind of the way I feel when I watch your videos. Just saying.
Somebody had to say that.
Yeah,
Somebody
I was
else.
thinking the same thing.
Hey man, I don't have a game room, so I have to provide some entertainment somehow. So
And yeah, absolutely. Jason, you got a shout out?
I do, in fact. So I'm going to shout out Drinks and Games with Josh.
Oh yeah.
And this guy, he's just got a really cool, laid back, chill vibe. He seems like the kind of guy you'd want to hang out with and have a drink with or play some retro games with, So he's got a really cool game room there. It's really cool. You kind of see that in the background. He does a lot of different kind of videos. He does some pickup videos. He does some on-the-go videos where he kind of checks out some places that are kind of like retro-inspired stores, which is really cool. And, his thing is he kind of does a little drink before he gets started on each one, but it's just enough to give you a quick hitter of what he's drinking and why he likes it. It doesn't get into that kind of beer snobbery territory or anything like that. It kind of turns folks off, especially folks that don't drink. It's just the perfect amount, sets the mood for the video, and he does it just right. So good stuff. And one of the things he's really been doing a lot lately, and these type of videos I've been really getting stuck on a lot of different channels, are those services that send you a box of games and you don't know what you're going to get inside them.
Right.
And he'll open those up. And I think that's been a lot of fun. I've been watching his. He got a really good box recently as well. So check that out. But anyway, really good channel, really good guy. Drinks and Games with Josh.
Yep. And I don't drink, and I love watching his videos. So absolutely, man. That's cool. All right, Lyndon, you got a shout out.
All right, this time I'm shouting out Firefly Family Gaming.
Yeah.
Husband and wife team, Anthony and Serena over there, new to our trade group. Really cool people. They do a lot of pickup videos. They're always out there on the hunt for video games. Sometimes they take the camera with them.
Yep.
And they're doing a great series talking about all things Wii U. which is a system I really like and think it doesn't get enough credit that it really deserves. So glad to see them doing that. And again, that's Firefly Family Gaming.
Awesome. And we will have links to all the shout outs, of course, in the description. Mark, you got a shout out?
Of course. I'm going to have to go with Retro Projections, our good friend John from the Retro Projection Show. And true to his name, he does his gameplay on a projector. He has like, he shoots it at the wall. It's like a 72-inch display that he's showing you his video games. He does a lot of tinkering and mad scientist type stuff. I think he's got a little mini series, Pro Hack or Botch Job, I think it's called. He's done a couple unboxings. He's just a tinkering mad scientist retro gaming dude. That's my shout out, Retro Projections.
That's a great shout out. He's got some really good taste in games too. And I'm just going to say that it's kind of nice in the Discord to have a little Sega backup,
Yeah, he's Team Sega, no doubt.
And he knowledgeable, man. That dude is.
Yeah, he's Team Sega, but he's well-rounded, man.
Very knowledgeable. Yeah,
you're right. Absolutely. All right. So some really great shout outs. Before we get into the topic, we're going to get started here. I just want to, let you know that we do have a Discord server. We are all very active on the Discord server. We have most of the people we shouted out are active on the Discord server as well. It's a great place to get information, to be entertained, and just to talk to people with the same type of likes, the same type of games that we do. So if you get a chance, man, check out our Discord server. The link will be in the description as well. All right. So Jonathan, are you ready to kick us off on, we want to talk about the most important or influential first-person shooters and kind of go back in time and relive some of the glory days of when the first-person shooters hit the scene. All right, Jonathan, I'll let you take it.
Okay. If my first of two choices is one that I remember vividly from my childhood, well, more a teenager, I should say, because this came around 1992, was released. It is a game that brought attention to the first-person shooter genre to very many people, solely because the first episode of this game was released via shareware. And I remember almost everybody having it on their computers back then, and even in schools. That is Wolfenstein 3D. This game was developed by ID Software, published by Apogee and FormGen, released in 1992 for DOS. It was the first episode, as I said, released as shareware. Subsequent episodes were available for purchase via mail order. And, it was everywhere. At least back then, I remember it being everywhere. The game is focused around, obviously, your BJ Blazkowicz, you're fighting Nazis, and you're trying to escape from Castle Wolfenstein. As far as in-depth storyline, it's not that in-depth, but it really set the tone for what the first-person shooter genre could be from back then. As far as the technology and 3D technology back then, it was pretty impressive. So Wolfenstein 3D was awesome.
That's a great pick, man. Excellent pick. And I bet every single one of us have a little experience with Wolfenstein. It's an awesome game.
Great one.
All right. So Jason, you are up, my man. What's your first pick?
Well, I'm gonna kind of stay in that family. So I'm gonna continue on with what Jonathan was talking about there. And mine was gonna be Quake. And so Quake will be my first one. That's from id Software. It was released in 1996. And it's a continuation of that same creative force that brought you Wolfenstein and Doom as well. So, that same team, John Romero, John Carmack, and the creative geniuses behind all those. And it was actually famously leading to the breakup of those two guys as well. But before that happened, they gave us Quake. And so Quake was very similar to Doom 2. The plot was kind of similar. They kind of had these like slipgate type portals, and you'd go through them, and while that was going on, some evil entity, it wasn't really hell. They never really allude to the fact that it's hell. It's actually kind of dark and gothic and kind of Lovecraftian. Maybe it's hell, I don't know. But anyway, that entity gets involved and chaos ensues, right? So that's really, you don't really follow too much on these plots, and you're kind of a nameless guy. Well, you're kind of like Quake guy, like you were a Doom guy. But anyway, I kind of mentioned the fact that the color tone is different. You know, it's a gothic kind of Lovecraftian aesthetic that's going on. You've got more earthy tones. You've got golds and tans and olives. You've kind of replaced the bright orange, red, hellish from Doom and the blue steel from Doom with this kind of, you know, earthy tones, which kind of gives it more of a darker, creepy vibe. It's kind of more of an ominous feeling. And to add to that, Trent Reznor, who was basically the creative force behind Nine Inch Nails, did the soundtrack for it, along with a lot of the sound effects and voices, the few voices that are in there. So, you know, it really has this kind of grungy mid-90s vibe, which I was totally into, and that was totally up my alley. I was all over that, right? So, you know, it had some standard weapons. It had an axe, it had a shotgun, a double-barrel shotgun. It had a nail gun, which was conveniently labeled 9 Inch Nails on it, which I thought was kind of
Yep.
And they're famous for the rocket launcher, which is probably like the ultimate weapon in the game, right? But, you know, it was important for actually having the first true 3D engine in first-person shooters, which was a really big deal. So if you think about what happened prior to Quake, we had games like Doom and Duke Nukem and Wolfenstein, and although they were 3D-ish, they were still kind of 2D playing 3D tricks, right? But not Quake. Quake actually was built from the ground up to be a true 3D engine. So a box would have a top, a bottom, a left, a right, a front, and a back, and you could rotate your character around it and see that kind of in real time. And that was mind-blowing. That was really incredible stuff, you know? Hugely important developments in that realm. And in fact, when I first saw this back in 1990, or I think it was 1997 when they'd done the GL patch for Quake, it really converted me from being a console player over into a PC gamer. And you've heard that term where you're kind of like a PC master race. I kind of went down that path for a while, and I blame it all on watching GL Quake. And it was being played on, I think it was like a Pentium 90 or something like that, which was bleeding edge technology for the time, with a Diamond Monster card, standalone 3D card, just mind-blowing stuff. It was silky smooth, and it was unlike any gaming console I'd ever seen at that time. I knew I had to. In fact, I changed careers over this game. I got so heavy into PC building, trying to get the best frames per second out of this game, that I changed my careers. I was already in the tech industry, but for a good 5, 6, 7 years, I did nothing but build PCs for different companies. And I have Quake to thank for that. And its huge importance on the gaming industry at whole, first-person shooters especially, and my life. So thanks, John Carmack, John Romero, and id Team for making Quake. That's my first choice.
That's a great choice. And if you think about it, how much has gaming pushed technology? Seriously.
Well, how much has this genre pushed
exactly?
It I mean, you think about it. I mean, for the longest time, and even to this day, the benchmark standards for high-end PCs are these style of games, right? So
that's right.
It's such a great topic because you're right. It's hugely important across the spectrum of modern gaming as it stands today, like as on a whole, you know? So.
Yeah, absolutely, man. All right. Yeah. Great picks. All right. So Lyndon, what you got for us, man?
All right. Well, you guys know me. I'm going old school. I'm going back before the classic era games that you guys are mostly going to talk about. I'm going to go way back because truly the first, or one of the first-person shooters was the arcade game Battlezone.
Yeah.
Now, this was a first-person shooter tank combat game released in 1980 by Atari. And this is really considered to be the first true 3D games with a first-person view. And by all standards, it's really the first successful first-person shooter game. Now, this one is made with 3D vector graphics. Everything's drawn with lines, but they're all done with bright colors, and it looks really good. All of the tanks that you're shooting look like a hand drawing of a tank. I mean, there's no doubt when you see it, it's a tank. It's not just a blob or shape. And to play this arcade game, we'll bring an old friend out here. The arcade cabinet itself looked normal. The screen did not. You could not see the screen. There was like a periscope, like a little box that you looked into. You would come up to it and look in like this.
That's awesome.
And it had a concave lens on it. So it made the graphics look like it wrapped around you. And then the controls, it had 2 joysticks, and it was skid steer. So you control left and right and go forward and back.
That's awesome.
And you're going around shooting at other tanks. There's regular tanks that are slower than you. There are super tanks that are faster than you and shoot faster than you. There are missiles coming at you. And also UFOs to shoot for bonus that zigzag back and forth and are hard to hit. And it has a very nice like radar, like you see still used in games today with the little circles that pop up in it. You move around to get them in front of you. Even back then, same thing. And the skid steer, man, that really helps. When they shoot at you, you know, you do it like this, spin it around, then back up, and just get right out of the line of fire. And also, Atari released a port to the 2600.
Boom.
And I'm going to tell you what, I just picked this up from Jason in our big trade.
I was about to say, that looks familiar.
When I put that in that Atari 2600 and seen what this was, my jaw hit the floor. It's not vector graphics. Well, it kind of is, but with surfaces. It's a first-person shooter on the Atari 2600.
There
And
you
it
go.
actually works good and looks good. And it's really fun. But it's really hard to dodge the enemy fire without that skid steer, without being able to spin it and back up real quick. It's pretty hard to dodge the enemy fire. At least I hadn't mastered it yet. But man, this game is a lot of fun. It's possible you see me play this on my channel.
There we go. There we go.
That's my first one there. We're going way back in the time machine, back to 1980, with one of the first true 3D arcade games, first-person shooter, tank combat, battle zone.
That's awesome, man.
It might be kind of cool if they let you use two controllers, almost like Smash TV on the NES, right? You know,
That would
That
be
would be
cool.
cool.
that would be neat.
That would have been cool.
Well,
I know that, you know-
I'm sitting here thinking how uncomfortable that would be with both those joysticks. Though, man. You have to
Yeah.
race down on the coffee table or something, right?
You'd have, you'd have to like Velcro them to the table. Or something.
That Velcro, the wraparound visor you're talking about, Linda, reminds me of the Virtual Boy. And that thing was just ahead of its time, 1980. That's crazy.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was going to say that's kind of seems like virtual reality right there. You know?
it pretty much
That's-
is. It
Long
basically-
before the Oculus. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there is also one last thing here. There is for the PlayStation 4 a game called Battlezone VR.
There you go.
Ooh.
So there it is, a newer
There it
version of that old game.
Nice.
Awesome.
All right, Mark, what you got?
Well, I'm also guilty of going down the PC rabbit hole. In the late 90s, 97, 98, I went through like a 10-year dark period of no consoles and all PC. And so today I'm going to be talking about, for my first pick, I'm combining a lot of games actually. Half-Life mainly and Half-Life 2. Of course, there's all the other expansion pack games like, let's see, Opposing Force, where you play as one of the enemy characters from the original game, Adrian Shepard, who's one of the U.S. Marines. There's also Blue Shift, where you play as Barney, who's one of the security guards from the Black Mesa
Very
Research
cool.
Facility. And I think there was a third one, Decay, which I never played. But I believe that's because it was a co-op game. Anyway, there's also, in this, what I call Half-Life universe, there's also tons of online games. This was like kind of my introductory to online play in a first-person shooter sense. So you had Deathmatch, which was like a free-for-all. There was Team Fortress Classic, which is capture the flag, for lack of a better term. There's Day of Defeat, which is like, I think it's similar, but it has a World War II vibe. And then the most popular, arguably, Counter-Strike. The original version, which is now referred to as Counter-Strike 1.6, named after its most latest version, I would assume. Then there's Counter-Strike Global Offensive, which is a more modern take on all of that. I could probably talk about Counter-Strike on its own at length, but I wanted to squeeze all these in for the sake of the episode and just mention them. But now just to focus on the Half-Life and Half-Life 2 games. So back in the late 90s, you had tons of first-person shooters out there, like Jonathan and Jason already mentioned. You had Quake, you had Unreal Tournament, you had Tribes,
Yep.
Deuce X. Is that how that game's pronounced? It is now. Whatever else was out there, but it didn't matter because, you know, with Half-Life around, it seemed like all other games, at least in my opinion, were playing for second.
Mhm.
Great story, characters that you actually cared about and connected with. Highly suspenseful. The in-game physics were like seemingly way ahead of its time. Puzzle solving, extremely clever with no hand holding. I can't say enough about Half-Life, and I think that's where I end my rant. So that's my first choice. All of that stuff that I just talked about is my first choice. All those 12 games or whatever. the Half-Life, universe. Yeah.
I will say this too, Mark. That's a great pick, but Quake engine heavily modified was actually what Half-Life was built on as well. I don't know if you knew that.
I did not.
So there's a relationship between our two picks right there.
Yeah.
There you go.
Makes sense.
Probably a relationship between almost all of our picks.
Probably.
So yeah, I'm going low hanging fruit on my pick. My first one anyway. You cannot play a game with more 90s attitude than Duke Nukem 3D. Can't do it, man. Come get some right there. I won't repeat some of the other things that you would hear in the game. But it definitely had that edgy adult type of theme to it. And back then, Mortal Kombat was out. I mean, just the edgier you could get, it seemed like, the more it would sell. But this wasn't just edgy and just, irreverent and full of humor. And it was a good game. It was a really good game. And one of the things that I remember about Duke Nukem that made it stand out in my mind, Duke Nukem 3D, was the weapons. Some of the walls were destructible. And then you were able to get a jetpack in the game, fly up and down. There was a lot more verticality to that game than there was, to the early first-person shooters like Doom and Wolfenstein. So Duke Nukem 3D, man, I still remember the first time I played that on my PC. And the reason I got a PC was to play first-person shooters. So that was the whole reason I got one. And yeah, what a great game. And also, the other thing that kind of stuck out to me, how surprised I was when you went into the bathroom and there was this full-length mirror and you actually saw yourself at the reflection and you could...
Yeah.
That was unbelievable, man. So much personality, so much attitude, but also very, very good gameplay. It was an excellent game. So that's my first pick. Jonathan, I'll kick it over to you again.
Good pick.
Hail to the king, baby.
Hail to the king, baby.
But yes, you're right. Most of that game, you can't repeat what he says. I was just playing that the other day. I'm like, I'm excited to share that with my kids. I'm like, no, that's not happening.
Yeah. Not yet, maybe.
So this is about all they're going to see right here.
Yeah.
So my second pick, if you're familiar at all with my channel, it's a Broken Record. And that's solely because this is probably the first game that I've ever recorded a long play of. That was unintentional, by the way. I just started rolling on it. I was like, you know what? I'm going to get 100% secrets and all kills. And I just said, you know what? I'll do it for the entire first episode. And that is Doom, the Super Nintendo version, obviously. But it's interesting. We were talking about Quake and Wolfenstein and the team at ID Software. The team that worked on Wolfenstein started working on Doom in 1992. They were finishing the Wolfenstein 3D sequel, Spirit Destiny. Mm-hmm. It was released similar to Wolfenstein 3D in an episodic format, where the first episode released via shareware, and 2 more episodes were available via mail order. It was extremely, I wrote down all these notes, otherwise I would just ramble. It's extremely popular and became known as a pioneering game within the first-person shooter genre. Yeah. There are many ports and clones of Doom over the years. Mm-hmm. This version I'm playing quite a bit. The SNES version was published by Williams Entertainment on September 1st, 1995. It was released near the end of the Super Nintendo life cycle, utilizing a Super FX2 chip. And the programmer, Randy Linden, was able to utilize 22 levels straight from the PC version, although they had to make some sacrifices due to the size of the Super Nintendo cartridges. Solely the enemies are only animated from the front, and they don't fight each other like they do in the normal port of Doom. And there's noticeable slowdown in gameplay. But yeah, man, for first-person shooters, Doom, Quake, obviously, because I used to go visit my brother-in-law, and he would also build PCs. And I would go and experience those games. But he always had Doom and Quake, and we played Wolfenstein at home. But yeah, Wolfenstein and Doom are easily my top 2 choices.
You can't have this show without Doom. You just can't. Yeah. The death matches, It's the first person shooter I ever played was Doom on the Jaguar, and then I had to get a PC to play it on the PC because, you know, the PC version had a little more. They had to cut back on some of the console versions, but just think about all the ports that there are of Doom, classic Doom. Amazing, man.
Yeah, I was going to say arguably the most famous first-person shooter of all time, but I don't think it's even arguably, right? I don't think you even need that. It just basically is the most famous first-person shooter of all time. So.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's due to marketing or timing in the industry or what, but it is interesting. One last thing about this, and I'll move on. This was one of three, I believe it's three games to get a mature rating for the Super Nintendo era. I'm fascinated by their gaming history because for so long, the Super Nintendo was just seen as a family-friendly console. And then, as we all knew, we discussed previously, Mortal Kombat kind of blew all that out of the water. And then they had the Senate committee, and then they established ESRB. And then without that, I don't think we would ever have seen this. I don't know if it would be even possible to have Doom on Super Nintendo without a mature rating system in general. But
don't forget that awesome red card too, man.
Yeah,
that was awesome too.
That sweet red card. There you go.
One of two, right? One of two in the library.
And
Spider-Man.
The other one, Carnage
or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Maximum Carnage.
Maximum Carnage. Yep.
And just a technical wonder that they got that to run on the SNES, man.
Yeah, I mean, super impressive.
It's pretty awesome. All right, well, Jason, what you got next for us, man?
That was a good pick, man. I don't know if I can follow it. I'm gonna try though. So my second pick is Dark Forces 2 Jedi Knight on PC. And this was made for Windows 95 in 1997. And this was a direct sequel to a very popular game, very well done one, known as Dark Forces for DOS. And that was a good game, but like any good sequel, this game does everything that one did and then some and better, right? So very good sequel in that respect. But I have to say, first of all, one of the things that really does really well is a brilliant integration of the John Williams score. And, you know, with the CD technology, I'm not sure if this was the first. I meant to look this up, but I didn't do all my homework. It was either the first or one of the very first to actually use like the CD quality score integrated into the game. And it did it so well. It hit it just the right moments to create that mood and that atmosphere with that music that we all know and love from Star Wars. And it was at that time in 1997 where we'd seen the special editions, but we hadn't yet seen the prequels. We knew they were on the horizon. We didn't know a whole lot about it. But largely Star Wars was being built and moved forward by comic books, novels, and video games, man. So we were looking forward to these like mini movie events. And this one did a really good job. This one, you took control of Kyle Katarn. He's kind of like a Han Solo type character. He was in the first one as well. But this one, if he was Han Solo in the first one, he's more of a mixture of Han Solo meets Luke Skywalker in this one because he starts learning how to use the Force. And that's a big deal. And it actually, there's a pivotal point in the game where you have to kind of determine whether you're going to go light side or dark, which is really cool. Very well done because your Force powers are impacted directly by which choice you pick, right? So kind of neat. That was pretty cool. You know, the weapons were, I wouldn't want to call them standard fare for a Star Wars game, but you had your standard blasters and you had your Stormtrooper blaster, which is really cool. You want to use a Stormtrooper rifle in real life. You don't get to, but, you know, this game gave you a feeling of that. You even got to use Chewbacca's bowcaster weapon, which was really neat. But most impressive of all, man, the reason why this game is on the list is think about fictional weapons, the greatest fictional weapons of all time. And what can you think if you think like Excalibur, Conan's sword? Those are just weapons, right? You think about the glaive from Krull, if you guys know that movie.
Oh yeah,
from Tron. All those are cool, but none of them can hold a candle to lightsaber, man. Star Wars lightsaber is probably the best fictional weapon of all time, and this game gives you an opportunity to handle that bad boy in almost real time. It feels like. So it kind of switches to a first-person view when you have it, or you can jump back out into a third as well. And both of them work pretty well. And man, it is the first time a childhood dream come true to wield a lightsaber and strike down a stormtrooper or a bad guy, man. It was an awesome feeling I'll never forget. This game was pivotal in the sense that it brought that into the 3D world, right? True 3D engine as well, just like Quake was as well. But with that Star Wars look and feel, man, it just does everything right? Let's see, anything else we got here? Yeah, I mean, I think that really kind of takes us up. What else can you say about that, right? So, you know, I was a big Star Wars fan, huge Star Wars fan, and this was an important game for me. And I think it was an important game going forward as well. This had a really good sequel, Dark Forces 2. Or actually, it was a Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast, which is a good game. But this game's available out there on Steam as well. So if you want to play it, you don't necessarily have to put together your retro PC. Just, you know, you get your Steam account going. And if you haven't checked this one out, it's a little rough around the edges, but man, I guarantee if you give it a try, you'll fall into the groove and you'll fall in love with the style. It's a really good Star Wars one, man. So Dark Forces 2, Jedi Knight is my second entry in the important first-person shooter.
That sounds
Great
awesome.
pick. I remember playing the original Dark Forces, and that game was awesome, man.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that one.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong at all. But I think this
That's
one did
awesome.
one up at most counts.
There's one other thing, Jason, you forgot to mention that I believe has full motion video in it, does it not?
It absolutely does. It
So
absolutely does.
you were mentioning about there was that dry spell for Star Wars fans for new content that absolutely filled that need, because it was like watching new canon content from Star Wars, even though Disney kind of threw that out the water.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And you know what? It reminded me of. Remember how we'd always heard that there was going to be a Star Wars TV show at some point, kind of like Star Trek. Those full motion video scenes reminded me of what a Star Wars TV show would probably have looked like around that time. So, but yeah, you're right. Very well done, and really helped push the story forward. So yeah, good point, man.
Awesome.
Very cool. All right, Lyndon, what do you got?
Well, guys, I missed that last half of the Super Nintendo lifespan where a lot of these classic era first-person shooters were ruling the day. So I have not played a lot of them. I'm almost ashamed to tell you that only a few weeks ago have I played Doom ever for the first time. Dad Racer sent it to me for Secret Santa for the 32X.
There you go.
I've not made it through level 3 yet, but I'm working on it. It's fun. So I don't know as much about that. So I'm going to talk about one here that some people might argue does not fit into this category, but I've been known to bend the rules. I think this might sort of be a rail shooter, or maybe a multi-directional rail shooter first-person game. That's what we're going to call it. Area 51, the arcade game.
Yeah.
Everybody remembers that. Aliens are taking over, and you're going area through area. It's moving you around every which way. Stuff's popping out at you. You're shooting it with a light gun, and it's got a real satisfying sound. I mean, it's boom, 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 and you shoot off the screen to reload. Man, that game is so cool. So I don't know if I think this is a first-person shooter. We're gonna count it.
Yep.
You got weapons. You start off with a pistol, then you got a shotgun, then you got the automatic gun, and then you got the automatic shotgun. And it's just boom, 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 boom. It's just leveling everything. And you can shoot the barrels to blow stuff up. There are all kinds of bonus objects to hit. You can get grenades, that you can throw out and just clear the whole screen. And there was a lot of times where you could hit certain objects in a certain order and get bonus games and items, even find warp zones to skip ahead through different stages. And we had this game at the campground, not when it was new. I think the next year, after it had been out a little bit, we got this. So I got to play this a lot. Oh my gosh, this is so fun. We played this constantly. We got to where we're so good at it. It gives you a bonus if you don't miss. Every time you hit an enemy without missing, it keeps building up and building up. I remember getting up to over 200 hits in a row. And you can play through this twice. If you beat it, it starts over. Everything, they move faster and shoot at you faster. And I remember beating it twice, no problem. But and they released this for PlayStation 1 and the Saturn, and you can use the Justifier gun with it. Boy, it is fun. Now, I don't know if you can play two-player on those two systems. I forgot to look that up. I don't know. But I'll tell you what you can do on the arcade. Pop 50 cents into that thing by yourself. And then you can play it with two light guns.
Man, you must have been rich, Lyndon.
Cha-ching.
Remember, I picked up cigarette butts around the campground.
I
Yeah.
remember.
To play video
Humble
games.
beginnings.
Yeah.
This came out in 95, and this was also released by Atari. So in 95, I was a teenager, probably already doing a lot more around the campground to earn a little money, to have a little video game spending money. So at this point, I had a little more to spend. I remember many a times putting 50 cents in and playing by myself and going all the way through it.
That's awesome.
So that's one of my favorite arcade first-person shooters. Every time I see you guys playing the first-person shooters, you're looking around. You always got your arm out in front of you. I'm thinking, man, take that arm away and just let me use a zapper and move around and play the same game. They're all fun no matter what, whether you use a zapper or playing it the traditional way with the classic first-person shooters like you guys are talking about. All of these are fun. And there's mine for today, Area 51, a game I really remember and just had a great time with playing in the arcade.
That's a great pick, man. Great pick.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. And I never thought of that 50-cent dual wielding.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Man. I'm gonna have to go find that stand-up arcade game, man. Try that.
I wonder if there's any plans for Arcade 1-Up to make one of those. Do they already have it? Maybe I'm not aware. I don't know.
They might.
Sure, I haven't seen one.
Yeah,
it'd be cool if they did.
I know they did a
awesome.
Terminator 2, I think. So
Yeah,
did they really?
can do some of those types of games.
Yep.
But that was I know
That's
that
cool.
wasn't a fixed mounted weapon, but I
Yeah.
know Area 51 you drew it off of the
Mhm.
cord and
Holster.
everything like that.
Yeah. Cool.
That's cool. And yeah, I really enjoyed playing that one too. That was a really fun one.
Yeah.
All right, Mark, what do you got for your second pick?
My second pick is none other than Goldeneye
Oh yeah.
007. Brr, brr. Rumble Pack supported.
Yep.
Right.
Everybody knows GoldenEye, right? This is the quintessential first-person shooter game for the Nintendo 64. There's really no other two ways about it. This is the game you're thinking of when when somebody says first-person shooter games on the N64. Go. Challenging missions that incorporated stealth, sniping, bomb planting, obtaining documents, protecting allies, not just killing everything in sight, which, don't get me wrong, I'm down with that too. Multiple levels of difficulty for each mission with additional goals. Lots of unlockable content. I can't forget to talk about the split screen multiplayer element of the game. This was like the #1 game for parties and sleepovers with buddies back in the day. Endless options for characters and weapons. I don't know what else to say. It's GoldenEye 007 for the Nintendo 64. Tons and tons, hours and hours of entertainment.
Yeah, it brought the death match home where you could play on your couch death match with that split
just
screen. That was
so
awesome.
so many different options and everything. Man with the golden
Different
gun where
settings.
you
Yep.
yeah the one hit kills, that was always fun. Proximity mines, that was always you made you want to just strangle the person next to you. It's a good time.
No, maybe
Which I-
one of the most famous licensed titles, man, out there.
Mhm.
You guys
It,
agree?
it could
Just
very
thinking
well
off
be.
the top.
I mean, yeah, it's obviously a must-have for the system. Everybody, I would think, knows it.
And it
And
was-
it's not terribly expensive either, I don't think.
No, it's not bad yet.
Yeah.
but-
Yet.
Really showed what the N64 could do, man. Yeah. I mean, seriously, splitting out four different screens and
Yeah.
letting you
I mean,
play death matches. That's some horsepower there back then, anyway.
followed the movie decently well, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
treated that license great.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, so some really good first-person shooters. I kind of think of the ones that grabbed me, maybe that grabbed me when they first came out and took the genre to the next level. And I had a buddy at work, and he was going to get an Xbox when it come out, and I was thinking, I don't know. I have my PS2, and the big PS2, and he came in and says, "Pull up Halo. Let's watch some videos of Halo." Once I saw that, dude, I'm like, yep. And I sold my PS2 and bought an Xbox and never looked back either, man. What an awesome game. And so, yeah, here it is. We had, so during the PC era, you would have LAN parties. I don't know if any of you guys ever did that. Take your tower over and local area network party. You could do that on the Xbox. And so I have kind of a sunroom, and I had 3 CRTs out there set up because that was CRT time, right when it first came out. And we had 2 people come over that brought their own Xbox, and so we had our own screens and we're playing, and it was awesome, man. Just awesome. The death matches, the vehicles, the Warthog, the tank. I mean, just amazing. And killing alien enemies and then being able to take their weapons and use them. The sticky grenade. Oh my gosh, the sticky grenade. Come on, man. I mean, there was so many times that we died laughing, and you could play couch co-op too in split screen. And we'd play that too, but you'd try to throw that sticky grenade and it would end up getting stuck on your buddy. And there was that moment of running and you could see it glowing on him and he's running around trying to and then bam. The physics in that game were amazing. The Warthog, you could throw grenades under it and just blow it up into the air. There was videos too back in that early days of Halo that would make the rounds on the internet of just doing some crazy stuff. But man, what an awesome game. Right after Doom, I think Halo is my second favorite first-person shooter. So
That's a good one.
What an awesome time, man. LAN parties, they were just so much fun. There was this one dude that played, and he'd get the sniper rifle, and he wouldn't even have to zoom in. It was ridiculous. He'd be running around with a sniper rifle, just popping people in the head. So, of course, we would all try to gang up on him. And
Rightly so. Yeah.
I'm glad somebody mentioned LAN parties with this whole first-person shooter thing, because somebody had to say it, right? I remember I had a little two-seater around these days, and I remember having to Tetris my big CRT 17-inch CRT monitor in there with my tower. I could barely get it in there, but man, I'd drive it all the way across town to get to somebody's LAN party where we could hook up and play. It's a big part of the experience, So
yeah, and you might get, we'd probably usually get about 6 hours in, and then all the loading and moving and everything, it was worth it. It was so cool, man.
Or you get
so
stuck
cool.
like just file sharing with somebody, right?
Yeah.
Let me wait for this download to finish. I'm grabbing somebody's ROM set or something, for like the whole Nintendo library or something.
Well, I remember going over and into our tech department at work, because you could do 2 Xboxes and you'd have to have a crossover network cable.
Oh yeah.
So I went to IT and I'm like, hey man, can you make me like a 20-foot crossover cable? Yeah, man, I can do that. Halo? Yep, Halo.
That's good stuff, man. It's all good memories. I think that's why we look back on this genre so fondly. Us of those, that were in it. Like I know Lyndon was kind of from the outside looking in, but man, if you were there during that time doing this, it was just a special time in gaming history,
But,
and now, I was so brokenhearted towards the very end of like kind of trying to play some local games. They totally took that code out. You can't even play local area network anymore. It's all online now. So
exactly.
Either you still got to go through the internet and connect, and that's kind of lame, but what are you gonna do?
People who are incredibly good at the games, by the way.
Yeah.
So all those, the guy that you were talking about, Joel, like they're all like that now.
Yeah,
online.
I'm sure. Well, I do remember, Halo 2 kind of brought that internet deathmatch, really into the forefront on a home console. And I do remember, getting beat, and he sounded like he was 10 years old, man, in his face.
We've got two of the games right now that I think kind of indoctrinated the kid, and that's N64's Goldeneye, like Mark mentioned, and then Halo. I mean, I think that really brought the kids in and said, what, this is for us too, between those two games.
Yeah. And it had a great single player campaign too. So
yeah.
All right. So all right. So we talked about those influential first person shooters. And I think I really like your contribution, Lyndon, on this, because there are, that was kind of the start of things, and things kind of built off of that. And it's cool to look back at that perspective as well. So do you guys think, when Doom hit and the first person genre really took off, it was like every console, every game designer had to make first person shooters. They just had, So here's the pop quiz. It's pop quiz time. Can you think, and I've got one big time in my mind, of any game that kind of started out like a 2D side scrolling game and ended up as a first person shooter and did it well? Or if you can't think of one of those, what game would you have liked to have seen kind of go in from the side scrolling genre, or whatever genre they were, into a first person shooting genre? So I see everybody just does everybody understand that one? Kind of clunky delivery on my part, but
Yeah, I got
I'll
one.
give you an example, and I'm going to take the low hanging fruit because I had time to think about
I know which one he's going.
it.
I
So you played Super Metroid,
Ah,
and then you played Metroid Prime.
Everybody's now moving on to their number 2 choice, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I have to make myself look good on these videos, man.
You're
So
not wrong.
I
You're not
cheated.
wrong, man. You're
I
absolutely on to
cheated,
something.
and they did it. Nintendo did it flawlessly. It was amazing, seriously. And I think people kind of thought, "What are you doing to Metroid, man?"
Yeah. People were scared. They were nervous.
They were.
You know?
Yeah. And then they
Mhm.
played it, and they're like, "Okay, I see now." So, Jonathan, you got one that you can think of, or one that you would have liked to have seen turned into a first person?
yeah, actually, I was thinking about this the other day. Now, I was thinking about not the one that currently exists, but
Mhm.
I am a huge fan of the original Bionic Commando
Oh man.
and Bionic Commando 2009
Mhm.
Xbox 360. For some reason, there are quite a few people who hate it or dislike it. I don't get it. I was actually having a chat very briefly on Sega Blocks' channel because he was talking about 360 pickups, and I said one of those 2 games that I always recommend is Bionic Commando for the 360. But I was thinking, why wasn't there a first person of Bionic Commando? Whereas you can swing around from building to building. That would just seem like a really fun environment to be able to do that. But that would be
That's a
my
good
top
one.
pick.
I like that. I never even thought of that, and that's a great pick. All right, Jason, you got anything on your mind?
This is bad, but I'm gonna go with it. I don't want to call it low hanging fruit, but I'm gonna go with, and I've seen this before. The Castlevania franchise has actually been hacked into a first person shooter before, and I thought I was gonna dislike it, but it actually turned out really well. They did the whole entire first level of the NES game from a first person standpoint, and kind of like, I mean, I would guess that probably like Jonathan mentioned that Bionic Commando, it would probably feel pretty similar to this hack. We all ought to check it out if you haven't seen it before. But basically, you're able to use the whip, kind of like you would normally, but you can also do some swinging and things like that on it as well. But yeah, I'm gonna go Castlevania, and it wasn't officially released, but it was out there. So take a look at that if you can, and tell me if you think I'm onto something there with that one.
I'm gonna have to check that out. That seems like a really cool
Yeah.
idea.
I'll do some. It's been a year more since I've seen it. I'll dig it up and I'll make sure we all see it in the Discord. We'll check it out.
Please.
Yeah, that's mine.
All right, cool. Lyndon.
Oh man, I'm thinking a first person Mega Man would
Oh,
be pretty cool. Something like that. Did they ever do one? If they do, I don't know
not
about
that
it.
I'm aware of, man.
I was trying to think. I've never played it, but I was trying to think. Does Mega Man 64 have any first
was like
person
third
elements? I'm
person,
not
you
too
wouldn't it?
sure.
Yeah,
It might be.
I think
It might be
more
I
third
still
third
think it was
person.
third. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty
I'm
bad.
not-
I remember that was not a great
Yeah.
Right.
version of the game.
Yeah,
I
but
think
Kind of
if
like
you-
Castlevania
that would-
64. They kind
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
that'd be pretty interesting for sure.
If you could
Oh,
do
yeah,
a
I think
first
the Mega
person
Man
one
franchise is-
good,
Oh
Mhm.
yeah,
it's the same concept as the original Mega Man games are done, just first
I like
person.
that.
Shoot.
That would be
Oh, yeah,
cool.
that'd be fun.
Heck yeah,
Yeah.
man.
get to it, Capcom. What are you waiting for?
Yeah. Take our money.
That's still a living, breathing license out there too.
Yeah, exactly. Oh,
Yeah,
that's a
they-
great pick, man.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
good one.
Probably realize that Mega Man and a lot of other games should just remain as side-scrolling, platforming. Oh, like Metroid, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, be careful what we wish for department, right?
Yeah,
Basically.
exactly.
There's that.
File it under that. Yeah.
All right, Mark, what do you got?
All I could think of is just ridiculous ideas. The first thing that came to mind was Super Mario 64. And
Wow.
what is missing from Super Mario 64? All of the original power-ups. You don't have your star. And what else don't you have?
The fireball.
Exactly. So can you imagine if, Mario first person hucking fireballs? It's the only thing. It's the
That'd
only
be
thing
awesome,
I've got,
man.
guys. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
I
Joel,
was
man, this might be one of the more tough questions you've hit us with, man. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
that's-
I
surprised
need to do
that
some homework for this one.
I'm surprised nobody came up with Contra.
Contra
thought
came to
about that.
mind, but I'm
Yeah.
like, it would just
Too
become a
obvious.
worse. It would become a worse game, like
Oh, yeah,
Metroid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but
I want to
then
change my
again,
answer to
yeah.
Contra now.
Commando.
Yeah, that works.
I
but-
want to know. Yeah, go ahead.
Didn't Duke Nukem start off as a 2D side-scrolling
Sure did.
PC
Sure
game?
did. Yes, it did.
I'm pretty sure it did. And
Yeah.
then
Interesting.
they just took that character basically and made a first-person shooter, but
That's right. Added some more 90s too to it too.
added the 90s too.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a tough one right off the spot. I kind of had another question, but Mark exposed that one on our last planning call, so I couldn't use that.
I don't even remember, but anyway, this was a good question. You know,
Yeah.
challenging
Just so
for
everybody
sure.
knows at home, we don't know these, right? We don't
No.
know what these are in advance, so we get hit on the fly.
Mark was like on the last call, he's like, I bet you're gonna say what are some of the most influential third-person games, or something like that, I think. So I'm like, well, I can't use that. But yeah, I think it worked out.
Hey Joel,
Yeah,
now I remember.
I seen the gears turning in everybody's head. They were just kind of looking around. So that's what we're after. And we got some stuff I didn't even think about. Bionic Commando, Mega Man, and Mario. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. Why was there a first-person Mario yet? But maybe it just wouldn't feel right. I don't know.
Right. It just doesn't. Yeah,
Doesn't
I couldn't think of anything that would actually become,
I think it would be
Awesome.
interesting, like Jason was talking about Castlevania, some of those old first, side-scrolling NES, to see it in that first-person view and see the area. That'd be pretty sweet. So
This is going to be the kind of question that as soon as we hang up off this call, we're going to come up with like 5 things that'll be perfect answers for it.
You're
I can already
absolutely
tell.
right.
And
Definitely.
Jason is going to share a video of that hack in our Discord server. So there's another reason why people should join our Discord server.
There we go.
Do it.
So yeah. All right. Well, I think we wrapped this one up. Anything else you guys got for us today? I think we
Can I have
Thanks for
one
having
more?
us on.
Yeah.
Sorry for the delay here. It's been a while since we cranked one of these out.
And it seemed like all of us I know I contributed to the delay.
Jonathan, did you want to add one more?
Yeah, Jonathan.
One of my favorite Nintendo games of all time is Maniac Mansion. I think you could definitely put that in first person.
That's
I don't see why
interesting one.
not.
Yeah.
There's some really interesting games if you think about it that would be,
Anyway,
would be cool.
For sure.
Yeah, good stuff.
All right. Well, I want to just make sure everybody checks out. I'm sure that everybody's pretty much subscribed to these guys' channels, but make sure and check out Back in the Day Gaming. Jonathan has put some really great stuff over there.
thanks.
Jason's channel, Kind of Cool, the Kind of Cool YouTube channel, does some very quality videos, great pickup videos, does some events that he's went to. Great stuff. Lyndon, you always got some awesome old school gaming, and Lyndon's kind of branched out a little bit. I saw a little TurboGrafx 16 going on there, and yeah, man, awesome.
Well, I got it hooked up and going.
Yeah, that was great, man. Old school games and stories, man. Check it out. And Mark, of course, with Dad Racer. Him and I kind of did some videos before this whole group kind of got together, and it's been a good friendship, been a lot of fun. Make sure you check out Dad Racer's videos. They're top notch and they're entertaining and pretty hilarious.
Hey.
All right. So I think that is it. Well, all right. I hope you guys have a great and safe rest of your day.